podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
No brakes, no brakes, no fear, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Three-time World Speedway champion TAI WOFFINDEN is back in British Speedway and he's following in the family footsteps, heading to Oleton.
I have so many memories from even being a kid at Sheffield. It'll probably ignite all them memories again, from when I was young, walking around the stadium and standing on Coke cans, pretend I've got a little steel shoe and that.
Exclusive first interview with TAI WOFFINDEN as a Sheffield Tiger on the way in a few moments. Our other guest this week is Dan Thompson, also making the headlines on Monday night, putting away a paid 13 points for his former track, Leicester.
I did think about maybe taking a break at that point and thinking about what I wanted to do from there, but I just thought the better option would be to get myself back in shape and go back to Leicester and show them what they got rid of.
And there's plenty of reaction from the various fixtures over the past 7 days, including with Richie Worrell, who talks about life at Plymouth, but also a frustrating time with the Peterborough Panthers on Monday night.
Just outdone us, outgated us, had more speed than us. That's why the boys are out there now, trying to work out, scratching their heads pretty much.
We've also got interviews with Rob Lyon and Peter Adams. We hear from Jason Doyle very soon, and there's focus on the Cab Direct Championship as well, where we catch up with Gavin Parr, team manager of the Redcar Bears, and we'll hear from Jordan Jenkins as well, as the Oxford Cheetahs' unbeaten run of 10 matches in a row comes to an end at the Echo Arena. All on the way on No Brakes, No Fear.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Lots to get through in this week's episode, and we'll start with that big news that TAI WOFFINDEN is back in British Speedway, with the Sheffield Tigers having pulled off the sensational signing of the triple world champion. The True Plant Tigers swooping to secure his signature as an injury replacement for Jack Holder, who's facing a spell on the sidelines with a broken wrist. It's going to go down as one of Sheffield's biggest ever signings, as the Oleton outfit remain focused on booking their place in the Sports Insure Premiership playoffs. Co-promoter Damien Bates said, "For Sheffield to sign a rider like TAI WOFFINDEN is a massive coup, not only for us as a club, but for British Speedway as a whole." It certainly is a big signing, isn't it? And when you think about it, TAI starting his early career, in fact his very first professional race was as a reserve at Sheffield on his 16th birthday, and big connections with the club over the years, and now he signs as a fully fledged Sheffield Tiger, and TAI has been speaking to Ryan Guest about his move to Oleton.
Well, TAI, first and foremost, how does it feel to be back involved in British Speedway?
Yeah, it's good. I'm looking forward to it, man. Obviously, wasn't really expecting it, but to be honest, I haven't really had any phone calls from England for the last 3 or 4 years, so Steady jumped on the phone and said that Jack was out, so I want to fill in, and just been scrambling to get everything sorted. So
you've said about the phone not ringing, and you've obviously had your reasons for not being involved in the league in the UK since 2016. But what was it that's made you want to come back and race in the Premiership now at this moment in time?
Simon called me and said, "Hey, can you fill in for Jack?" Simple as that.
Yeah, it has been something you've been mentioning in recent interviews, though, that has been crossing your mind lately as well.
Yeah, like, I don't know, look, it's like, I'm like that. Somebody ain't going to call me, I'm not going to chase it, so, and I've always been like that with everything, so, I started riding in Australia in the off-season as well, and not because I pushed for it. It's because people actually called me and said, "Hey, we'd like you to ride there." And I was like, "Yeah, sweet, I'd love to come ride." It's been a long, long time since I raced around Sheffield. I actually can't remember when the last time I rode around there.
And again, we'll touch upon that in a second, but obviously you'll have looked at, or you'll know of the riders who are back in the British Premiership this year. And I know, obviously, Emil Seifertenoff is one who's been back after 11 years. He's really been praising it. Has that had any say or any part in your thought process about coming back?
Well, one positive thing is that, the boys that I have spoke to about, how you getting on in England, what's it like, how's things going over there, no one had a bad thing to say, whereas, 5 or 6 years ago it was a different story. So, it's cool, man. It's definitely positive. The boys are super positive about everything, so it sounds fun.
Yeah, you've mentioned obviously it's, Sheffield as a racetrack. You enjoy racing there. It's a place you know from earlier on in your career as well, and yeah, certainly for somewhere like I say from back in your early days in your British Speedway career that you do have some fond memories of.
Yeah, I think the last time I rode there probably would have been a Premier League Riders' Championship, possibly in 2007, which I won. I can't remember riding there after that. I'm looking forward to seeing what's been going on over the years, and what's been changing. And I have so many memories from even being a kid at Sheffield. It'll probably ignite all them memories again. From when I was young, walking around the stadium and standing on Coke cans, pretend I've got a little steel shoe and that. So obviously Neil Machin was super close to our family. He's my godfather, and he was running Sheffield for such a long time. And then when the Bateses took over, obviously know them super well as well. So, and I lived in Sheffield for like 2 or 3 years as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to go back.
Yeah, 100%. Like you say, plenty of connections with people at Sheffield, and another one which you've touched upon already, obviously Simon Stead, Great Britain boss, who you've just spent the last week or so with. He's Sheffield's team manager as well. So did that also make the decision a little bit easier, perhaps?
Yeah, Steady just gave me a call and said, I don't know if you're interested, mate, but I thought I'd give you a shout. Jack's up. Do you want to fill in? And I said, yeah, for sure. Let's go. Got all the paperwork handled, and getting the bikes over from Europe and whatnot. Everything's under control, and we can go have a bit of fun and go racing, and high up the championship we can finish.
Yeah, 100%. And you've just raced with Adam Ellis in the World Cup. You won the league with Carl Howarth at Wolves in 2016. So a few boys in the team you already know quite well. Yeah, of course. And even Pico is there now as well. Moved from Kingsland to Sheffield. So it'll be a fun group of guys. I'm looking forward to hanging out with them all and banging some points in. 100%. And just finally, a look at the FIM Monster Energy Speedway World Cup. Obviously, a tremendous effort from the GB boys overall, and at the same time also so gutting to come so close. But after a few days of reflection, how do you look back on it now overall? Yeah, I'm still a bit bitter about it, but I can carry that, mate. I can carry that on my shoulders. The silver, it's not what we wanted. It's not what we was aiming for. Like I saw in my social media piece, I feel like I was blamed for that. I definitely shouldn't have ran 2 last in the middle 2 races, even though I was the middle gates, which weren't ideal. I still believe I'm good enough to score more points than that. So, and if I did what I believe I can do, and I did my job, then it would have been a different story. So, I can take that one on the chin and keep moving forward, and that's done now. We've got a silver medal, and next year we need to go one better.
TAI WOFFINDEN back in British Speedway with the Sheffield Tigers. Well, let's have a look at some of the action on Monday night in the Sports Insure Premiership. And Ipswich Witches kept their playoff hopes alive with a stunning performance to win 53-37 at Leicester. The Witches smashed the Lions' 8-match winning run, with Jason Doyle scoring 14+1, a paid maximum of course there, whilst Emil Saifutinov added 13+1. Skipper Danny King also in double figures with 10. But the visitors' hero was rising star Dan Thompson, who had been released by the Lions earlier in the season and came back to haunt his former employers with 9+4, including defeats of Chris Harris and Richard Lawson. Harris scored 9 for the home side, who dropped to 3rd in the table, whilst the Witches moved within 3 points of 4th place Sheffield, albeit having ridden more matches. Well, of course, we're going to hear more from Dan Thompson in part 2 of this podcast, so go towards that if you want to hear more from Dan Thompson very soon. First of all, though, let's hear from the 2 team managers. Stuart Dixon first with Scott Nichols.
Home win, race streak was up for grabs, but it didn't happen for you tonight against the Witches, who put up a great performance.
No, it did not happen for us, Scott. Full credit to the Witches, better team on the night. Even when we gated, they were past us. They had been sharper at the start, but listen, fair play. Rich's team deserved the win, and sometimes you've just got to take it on the chin and say you get beat with a better team.
Yeah, mate, obviously the playoff dreams are safe for you guys, but obviously it's a dent in the armoury, so obviously the team will just regroup now, come out swinging for the next meeting here on Thursday.
Well, that's important that we do that. We can't let it set in. As you say, we've been pretty good. I wouldn't say we're 100% safe in the playoffs because, you know, we can't slip into a bad run of form. I know that sounds silly to say after losing 1 in the last 9, but it can happen in Speedway. Sometimes, we need to bounce back on Thursday night and show that this was a one-off.
Richie, it's been a tough season for you boys. It was a must-need win. The chips were down and you boys delivered.
Yeah, we've been great tonight. It's obviously maybe too late. We've got an important week this week. Obviously, a trip to Kingston Thursday. We need another win there. Peterborough Monday as well. So, another 2 winnable away meetings, and then just get a little bit of a run. And put a bit of pressure on the playoff teams because at the moment it's like they're looking quite safe. But if we can put the pressure on, you never know.
Well, never underestimate a wounded animal. You boys, you know what's at stake. Tonight's got to give the boys a massive boost of confidence going into those next couple of meetings.
Yeah, 100%. And especially here, which is Leicester have been obviously in great form. So if we get a win here, that's great for everyone. Still got issues there. Obviously, Eric's still had a tough night again, and he's just had machinery problems tonight. Everything's going against him. So, if we can get him there, obviously we're a very good team.
Yeah, certainly an impressive performance from Ipswich, despite Eric Riss having another tricky night with mechanical failures as much as anything that particular occasion. One man, though, who was firing on all cylinders was Jason Doyle with a paid maximum on the night, and he's been looking back on the meeting at Leicester with Scott Nicholls.
You boys seriously needed a result tonight, and you didn't just get the win, you absolutely annihilated them.
Yeah, Chris told us if we didn't win tonight, we're pretty much out of the playoffs. So we knew our job to try to win at least. The track was amazing tonight. Obviously, you do like it when you're winning races, but for how much rain they've had the last couple of days, I think they've done a really good job. And the team, Dan at reserve tonight, rode amazing. Fair play to him. It's great to see the young British kid coming through.
He certainly did. He really come of age. That move he put on Bomber, that was class. It was a smart move. Jason, you've been Mr. Ipswich for a long time, but it's been on your shoulders. It must be nice having that backup with Emil, like heat 15, heat 13.
Yeah, not even in the 13 and 15. When you see Emil out by himself, you know that he's going to be scoring points, and it does take a little bit of pressure off. Obviously, you want to score good points for the team, but having Emil in the team this year is amazing. He's a great kid, and hopefully he can be back next year.
Yeah, a British league that now features Emil Sayfutinov, Artem Laguta, Dan Bewley and, of course, TAI Woffindon now. Certainly has to be a strongest premiership for many, many years. Well, elsewhere, Ryan Douglas secured a brilliant 6-ride paid maximum as Wolverhampton ran riot with a 56-34 win at Peterborough. The visitors recovered from an early 4-point deficit to dominate proceedings at the East of England Arena, with Dougie earning many of his points from the back in a spectacular display. The Australian was backed up by Luke Becker with 11+2 in a complete Wolves team performance, whilst Ben Cook notched 10+2 for a Panthers side who were unable to build on their win at Kings Lynn from last week. Well, some reaction from there then, starting off with the Wolves team manager Peter Adams.
Well, Wolverhampton team manager Peter Adams, the biggest away win of the season for the Wolves, and it was a fine 6-man display here tonight.
Yeah, magnificent performance, probably our best of the season, I would think. And although we had a bit of a scare early on when they took that early 4-point lead, we soon got back into it, and we were dominant from 3 or 4 each in right to the finish.
Yeah, made even more impressive, like you say, to be without Rory Schlein. The boys really dug deep and really pulled together here as well.
Yeah, it's difficult running rider replacement on a track this size, but there's so little to choose from, and you need a guess. On a day like today when 6 teams were scheduled to be running. So it is difficult, and I imagine that's about the score that Rory would have got, so I don't think that was too influential.
Like we say, it was an all-round display, everyone chipping in with at least one race win, but got to mention the performance of Ryan Douglas. He certainly flies around here and did so again tonight.
Yeah, I decided, or as a team we've decided that on the tracks that Dougie really excels, we're going to use him at number 5. He took that role today, and as you saw, he was magnificent. He was playing with the opposition, and it's not the first time I've seen him ride like this. It's his first 18-point, not quite a full house, but he's paid for 18. That's his first at this level, and he was just brilliant from start to finish. But it was a great team effort, as you say. and we just move on to the next now against Leicester at Monmouth on Monday, which, personally I think that's a very threatening opposition.
Yeah, like you say, it's going to be a first clash against Leicester since they came back to the top flight. It's going to be nice to get back on home shell for the first time in 3 weeks as well for the boys.
Yeah, we have actually met Leicester already this season at Leicester, but they're a good-looking team, and I think we'll need to be on our game on Monday to send them packing.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting one when Wolves face Sheffield, isn't it? With Woffy, I think, previously having said that he could only ever see himself riding for Wolves in this country. But times change. That's a conversation for another day. Let's hear from the top scorer for Wolves on the night then at Peterborough, Ryan Douglas, with Dougie bagging himself an 18-point paid maximum. He had the bumps after the last heat, and once he'd recovered from that, he had a chat with Ryan Guest.
Well, Ryan Douglas, first and foremost, let's start with yourself. A 17 plus 1 paid maximum, absolutely flying out there tonight.
Yeah, it's good. I've definitely got a liking for this track, and over the years had some good results, but I think that was my first 6-ride max. But so yeah, very happy with that. I felt pretty quick all day and made some good passes from the back, so yeah, very happy.
What is it about this place you like so much?
I don't know, really. It's I don't think it's that different kind of shape. It's like pretty circular, and I just seem to be able to get my momentum going and build up good speed. So yeah, I'm not complaining.
Made life easy for yourself in a few, getting some good starts, but in a couple, particularly the likes of Heat 13, had to work really hard.
Yeah, that's it. I think I was at the back on the first lap, but I went wide and I thought, I've got some speed out here. So once I got into third, I thought it took me a few laps to get around Neil's, but yeah, I was stoked to get the paid win there.
After a couple of weeks without any team action as well, no one really knew how Wolves were going to adapt here tonight, particularly without Rory as well and having to run RR, but it was a solid all-round team display, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's always not good having your full team, and I think we haven't done many meetings this year with a full team. Obviously Luke was injured and now Rory, so yeah, everyone dug deep, and I think everyone rode well tonight, and it was a good team performance.
Yeah, and must be looking forward to getting back on home shell for the first time in 3 weeks next Monday.
Yeah, that's it. It's been a bit stop and start there, so yeah, it'd be good to get back on there, and hopefully can carry this form on a bit now.
Dougie, congratulations on a fantastic performance.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
What about the Peterborough Panthers then? A morale-boosting victory at Kings Lynn last week. Changes to the team to try and bring a bit more positivity around the side. So Rob Lyon left a little baffled by his team's display. He too has been speaking to Ryan.
As frustrating as it gets, I think, really. But fair play to Wolves, they were a much better team tonight, and hats off to them. But a bit mystifying, if I'm honest, that we were very inconsistent tonight, and we're second best.
I was going to say, because for those first 3 races, you got the first 3 race wins and took the lead after that Heat 3 with a 5-1. So that, like you say, mystifying is certainly one word there.
Yeah, it is. It's we can point to a manner of reasons why. I think we had high expectations based on the fact we won at Kings Lynn Thursday, and we've got a more settled team now and a new guy coming in. Always going to be difficult for him, in fairness, but I think we probably had higher hopes that we would win a lot of our more home meetings that we have left to run. But they've come and shown us a lesson tonight, and like I say, we're a far better team.
Yeah, and like you say, things have got to turn around, get back on form, and like you say, still plenty of time, particularly here at the East of England Arena, to do that as well.
Yeah, that's right. There's 7 more meetings at home yet, so hopefully they can get that consistency in their riding and pull some wins off.
Like you say, it was a tough debut for Patrick as well. I think it was always going to be, no matter where it was, but the Panthers fully intended when they signed him to try and use Vadim Tarasenko at reserve. I know that was something that's caused a bit of confusion over the past week or so.
Yeah, it is, and there's nothing in the rule book to state that he can't ride there, and unfortunately I was in Poland when it all kicked off, and I hadn't got any chance to sort of really argue it. Obviously other people did. Dal was one that sort of tried to argue the point, but we didn't get anywhere with it, and I'm still to be convinced that there was anything wrong with that. But it is what it is, and we may revisit that for next week. But yeah, not a lot else to say really, Rich. It's one of those things.
Frustration from the team manager and also frustration from the riders as well. Richie Worrell reflecting on that defeat on their home track, having had that momentum in their sails following that big win last week against Kings Lynn. And Richie's been speaking to Ryan Guest as well.
It was massive disappointing because of how well it started as well. Now I know Wolves have got some track specialists. Dougie likes these big fast round tracks. Sam goes well everywhere. Stevie's nice and light. He's gone well round Bellevue. Even Becky. So you can look along the board, and they have got lads that like this place. So when it started our way, I thought, hey, we're onto something here. But they soon got it figured out, set-up wise, and then just outdone us, outgated us, had more speed than us. And that's why the boys are out there now trying to work out, scratching their heads pretty much. I started off well and then tailed off, but since after the meeting found out why there was a mistake made, because during the wheel change you get 2 wheels, so during the wheel change after that second race we made a mistake and put the wrong sprocket on. Accident, but we only figured it out afterwards, so I don't really need to go out there because I know what happened on my part. We'll hold our hands up, mistake made. It was a tough one to swallow.
Yeah, it certainly was. And like you say, how much do you think that the lack of home action maybe played its part as well? Because I think this was the first home meeting in a month, something like that.
Massively, yeah. I don't feel like that's my home track. I've rode other tracks more than I've rode that one. Everybody knows we've got a big run now. I think 7 or 8 home matches. Hopefully we can get dialed in and pick up some wins and give the fans something to smile about, because that tonight wasn't really, was it? It was tough for us, and I guess tough for the fans.
Yeah, the management do keep trying. Like you say, they've brought in Vadim and we've seen his potential. Obviously it was a tough debut for Patrick Den at reserve tonight, but one of the big outgoings, obviously Hans Andersen, a legend of this club, and you stepping into the role as captain now as well.
Yeah, big boost for Phil of Hans's. What a career he's had. So, hanging his boots up. Yeah, I think the right time for him. This sport's tough, and it is, especially this level. It is tough. So, yeah, fair play to Hans. There's not many people that have done what he's done in his time. So, he's Grand Prix and rode for his country and so on. So yeah, fair play to him. If his time's up, his time's up, and I fully respect what he's done in his career.
And I know you've mentioned big boots to fill, but being named a captain of a Premiership side, is that something you feel you can step up to the plate and step up to that role?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do anything different, to be honest. We've just got to do the coin toss. I feel like there's a reason why Rob gave it me. I'm always there and thereabouts, kind of buzzing around. Probably the loudest voice hanging around. Probably life and soul of the players, kind of thing, with team wise. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just quite fitted in that sense. You do need a good captain who's kind of got your back. He'll speak up when someone needs speaking up about, and whatever else. So yeah, I'll just carry on doing what I do and try and win some coin tosses.
Yeah, and like you say, a massive run of home fixtures coming up as well, and ideally want to get back to winning ways at the first opportunity next time out here. Yeah, that would be nice. Like you touched on Vadim coming over. He's fitting in really well. But the difference from what Vad had to the young Paul that's come in is track time. So Vadim had a day on the track before his first match, whereas sadly the young fellas come in, and his first time he's touched an English track was in his first race. Starts was an issue for him, and then early on in the meeting he was tough to pass. There was not many passes had unless you had a very, very fast bike. So he has struggled, but he's out there putting the effort in now, or he was trying to work it out, trying to figure out a setup. So hopefully we can get some track time, because I'm sure I'm going to want some of the other boys, Mike, before our next home match, and get some redemption. Not necessarily on Wolves, but just on the league, and try and get a win in.
More from Richie Worrell later on in the podcast, talking about Plymouth as well. And their woes continue in their battles against the rain, as another rain-off incoming for this week as well. The other match that was supposed to be happening on Monday was, of course, rained off between the Bellevue Aces and the Sheffield Tigers, and those two will face each other next Monday. And, of course, I've already mentioned the new signing for the Sheffield Tigers. Bits of other news to talk about. Revised dates have been agreed for the Sports Insure Premiership playoffs because of the weather issues, because there has been so much rain. It is going to be practically impossible to get everything in time. So the semi-finals are now going to get underway Monday, September the 18th. 1 week later than originally scheduled. So things being pushed back by a week. The grand final is now due to take place on Monday, October 2nd and Thursday, October the 5th. The changes also mean the dates earmarked for the Knockout Cup final, which was due to take place in the week commencing September the 4th, will also be pushed back by 1 week. The top flight saw several fixtures postponed because of the wet start to the campaign, and also recently meaning an unseasonal spell of weather throughout July, creating further backlog. Phil Morris has said it's been discussed between all the clubs. He'd like to thank our broadcast partners Eurosport and Discovery Plus for their understanding. With the number of postponements that we've experienced, it meant it was going to be almost impossible to complete the fixtures by the end of August, but wanted to take a decision now and give everyone clarity on the intentions. So the decision has been made, things being pushed back by just 1 week. It's certainly going to make for a busy time in September for many clubs, and then they'll all be doing battle for the league title, of course. So revised playoff dates are as follows. Semi-finals are due to take place Monday, September 18th and Thursday, September 21st, Monday, September 25th and Thursday, September 28th. The grand final is due to take place Monday, October 2nd and Thursday, October the 5th. Those are the dates as they stand. Knockout Cup final is due to take place on Monday, September 11th and Thursday, September 14th. The other news is to do with the Sports Insure British final. Dan Bewley will be defending his crown on his home track of Bellevue Monday, August the 14th, which of course is not far away now. The list of qualified riders being announced for the national event. It also carries a wild card for the forthcoming Grand Prix in Cardiff. Former champions Chris Harris, who won the title in 2007, 2009 and 2010. Danny King, the 2016 winner. Craig Cook, who was the title winner in 2017. Charles Wright, the 2019 British champion, and Rory Schlein, the 2020 British champion, along with Adam Ellis from 2021. All competing at the National Speedway Stadium. The wild card will be awarded to the British champion, and of course if Dan Bewley is successful in defending his title, that wild card will go to the runner-up, the person who finishes second, if Dan Bewley does win. So looking at the lineup then, the riders selected for the Sports Insure British final are Ben Barker, Dan Bewley, Tom Brennan, Craig Cook, Adam Ellis, Leon Flint, Chris Harris, Kyle Howarth, Lewis Kerr, Danny King, Simon Lambert, Richard Lawson, Rory Schlein, Richie Worrell, Steve Worrell and Charles Wright. Obviously those are in alphabetical order and nothing else. And there'll be the full draw done, I believe, next Monday for the riding order. So look out for details of that. And that brings us to the end of the Sports Insure Premiership section of this podcast. All we'll do is have a quick look at the league table before we move on. Top of the table remain the Bellevue Aces on 35 points. They have, however, ridden 20 meetings. The club behind them in second place are the Wolverhampton Wolves. They've ridden 16, so 4 matches in hand on Bellevue and on 27 points. The Leicester Lions have ridden 15 and are also on 27 points. Sheffield Tigers are in fourth, ridden 14 meetings, 22 points on the board. The Ipswich Witches now closing the gap on Sheffield, but they have ridden 4 more, 18 meetings ridden for the Witches and 19 points. And then in sixth, the Kingsland Stars, 16 ridden and 7 points, and the Peterborough Panthers, 17 ridden and 5 points. That's how the table looks. And taking a look at what the next week or so has in store. The race for the Premiership playoffs hotting up. Ipswich looking to build on their win at Leicester as they head to Kings Lynn on Thursday night in a fixture that will be live on BSN. And then they head to Peterborough on Monday. The Lions will try to bounce back when they host Sheffield on Thursday, and they then travel to Wolverhampton on Monday in a Midlands derby at Monmore Green. That's how things look for the next week ahead in the Sports Insure Premiership. Coming up then in part 2 of No Breaks, No Fear, we will hear from our special guest this week, Dan Thompson, who's had a cracking time of things, in fact not least on Monday night in front of the TV cameras when he bagged himself a paid 13 at Leicester, his old club, for the Ipswich Witches. He's also qualified for the European Under-19 final this last weekend, which will take place later in August in Gorzów, and a runner-up in the British Under-21 Championships as well. So things starting to turn round for Dan Thompson. We'll hear about what he's been up to, what he's changed, and what he hopes the rest of the season is going to look like in the next part of No Breaks, No Fear.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back to No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast. In this section then, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a rider who had a very good night in front of the TV cameras on Monday, but not only that, has had a very good few weeks, in fact, couple of months actually, after a bit of a turbulent start to the season. I'm very pleased to say that Dan Thompson joins us on the podcast. Hiya, Dan.
Hi, you right?
Yeah, good, Tar. It's pretty good times for you at the moment. I know it's been fairly turbulent with one thing and another early part of the season, but you must be fairly happy with how your last few weeks has gone in not just in British Speedway, but in Speedway in general.
Yeah, definitely. The last few weeks has really given me the boost I needed, to be honest. And mid-season was a bit turbulent, as you said. I wasn't really sure where I was going to be riding next and what teams were going to be swapping me about. But now I've settled into my teams and I've started scoring some bigger points, and that's definitely good for my confidence.
Tell us about the start of the season, because there was a lot of expectation probably on your shoulders. You know, you were starting out at Leicester. Many people, I don't think, realise quite how much of part of the fabric you and your family, you know, your dad, your brother, all your sponsors as well, have become part of the fabric at Leicester. So it must have been a bit of a dream, really, to having grown up around that circuit, find yourself at the beginning of this season lining up in the very top league for Leicester.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, me and my brother Joe have been riding at Leicester and for Leicester since a very young age, and definitely know the track and the people very well there. So yeah, that showed with my performance last night. And but you know, they decided to let me go, and there was no sort of harsh feelings there. It's just but obviously since I've joined Ipswich, and I found the challenge a really good one for myself, and it was sort of a blessing in disguise, if you like. So I've done so much more learning being a new track to myself than riding the same track I've been riding since I was 15.
I know from speaking to your dad a couple of times, especially around when it was all sort of kicking off with one thing and another, and largely Joe, you know, finding himself moving from one club, and you were sort of involved in that as well, and then particularly at Ipswich. And it wasn't... I don't know, did you feel that you were taking a load off Joe's shoulders in a way? Because I think he'd got himself in a point where really the pressure was mounting on him to perform, and you get yourself in that situation, don't you, where sometimes no matter how hard you try, it just doesn't come. And you know, as a family, was it it wasn't awkward, it was more of a you were able to help each other out in some ways?
Yeah, me and Joe had a chat together about what we wanted to do and stuff, and obviously Leicester dropped me, and then Joe was struggling to find his feet in the Premiership. I think I did have it a bit easier than him at first, as obviously I knew Leicester very well whereas he was going to Ipswich not really knowing anything about the track or the setups or anything. So yeah, I didn't like to see him struggling, and I didn't personally feel like I was struggling at the time, but he spoke to me about potentially giving me the chance at Ipswich, and Ipswich stepped forward and offered me it, and I took it with both hands immediately, and ever since I've been doing reasonably well for them, and particularly in the last 2 weeks or so I've really stepped it up.
Quite a big step for you to have a new home track though. And I know that it's not your only track that you call a home track, but you know, certainly this season being that season where you've stepped away from being totally based at Leicester now, a big opportunity for you, as you say, but a big change. But I think personally, from my, obviously I'm not a rider, I see it from a different point of view, but I think the support that you would maybe get at Ipswich is pretty perfect when you look around the pits, and also you look at the team management with the likes of Chris Louis being there. You've got such a wealth of experience around you.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I've come in at Ipswich, I've had Emil, Jason and Danny giving me advice all night long about setups, where to ride on the track, this and that, and offering me all the help I need. And obviously Richie Hawkins and Chris Louis are brilliant for motivation and giving you support. It's tough for youngsters being in the top league, but a lot of us have beaten some good riders and put in some good scores. So there's definitely the youth can do it. It's just we need support, and it's nice to get it from a club like Ipswich.
When things aren't going well, do you sometimes wonder why you bother when you've got, you drop by a club, but then on top of that, you've got keyboard warriors probably giving it large, of their opinion of what you should have done and this, that and the other. Have you had times where you've thought about, giving Speedway a break or jacking it in or whatever?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of abuse to all riders, I think, whether you've had 10 amazing meetings on the bounce and then you have one bad meeting, there's always people who want to say something against you, but you have to ignore all that and keep doing what you're doing. I mean, I didn't agree with what Leicester did to me earlier in the season because I didn't think the change was that necessary at the time. We were doing well, but I did think about maybe taking a break at that point and thinking about what I wanted to do from there, but I just thought the better option would be to get myself back in shape and really put in some good points and then go back to Leicester and show them what they got rid of, which obviously I did last night, and Ipswich took some good points off them, which they probably needed.
Yeah, well, going back to Leicester and scoring paid 13 is certainly it's probably about as good as you could have hoped for, isn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't really hope for it to go any better. I mean, I had some good rides and I was making some good starts. So obviously I know Leicester very well, but I was still making changes to the bike and taking the advice off Emil, who was told me to make a few changes to my bike for my last two, which really worked, and took some good scalps along the way as well.
What's changed? Obviously, you found yourself in this situation. Your back's against the wall a bit, and you've got one option is to put it to one side and think of doing something else. Your other option is to grab this and fight it and show what you're made of. And I think I've certainly seen a more aggressive Dan Thompson over the last few weeks. I think particularly since the under-21 final at Glasgow, we saw that you had the bit between your teeth there. I'm not saying that you weren't. It wasn't like this in the meetings prior to that, but that was the first one I saw you in for a little while. What has changed for you? I know you've invested heavily in some new equipment, haven't you? What have, as part of that decision to fight on, what have you done? What are your changes?
It all really started with I've changed one of my engines. I've been riding the same engine for a while, but I decided to switch things up and give something else a go as it wasn't working for me. And since I've changed that, I went on it for the under-21s for the first time, and I had a really good meeting there. I felt I had good speed on the bike, and I was making good lines and stuff there. And ever since then, I've been obviously riding a lot more regularly, and I've just been trying to put myself more in the shop window for maybe next year for teams to look at me and think I'm not done yet. I'm still going to keep progressing, and I don't want to just level out now. I want to keep on rising to the top.
And we talked about the under-21 final. I know it was bittersweet, really. You were on the podium, but you were leading that final race as well. So it must have been slightly frustrating. But nonetheless, it was still a great achievement because you beat a lot of good riders there on that day on a very fast track. And as I say, I think it was interesting to see that you were battling for positions that maybe this time last year you might have conceded maybe slightly easier. Would that be fair to say? You seem to be battling a lot harder, and I think you need that at certainly the championship level and upwards, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since coming into the Premiership, the starts in the first corners are a million times harder. There's everyone's ruthless. Everyone has their elbows out and is not afraid to take you down if they have to. So, definitely from watching the aggression and motivation of riders like Doyley, who can pull any move he likes on the track, is definitely inspired me to ride hard all the time. And I've been pulling some good moves lately, and I've been fairly hard on people as well, and that's been giving me a few more points.
The quality of the rider that you're facing this season is so much higher than the riders you were facing last season, racing in the Championship and the National League. I know you're still covering those leagues now, but now facing up in the in the Premiership, where you're dealing with world champions, with national heroes and household names. It's a different level of the sport completely for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think too much about who I'm against. As every time I go on track, I just want to win and do my best. And as long as I'm mixing it in the points with the riders, that's a positive for me to take away from the meet. And obviously, there's the top riders in the Premiership, but my job's to just go out as rising star and try and put a few points on the board. So anything more than that is a great achievement. And I've been helping Ipswich to some good results lately, I think.
On the subject of the Championship, you've moved around a couple of times, of course, but with Plymouth now, the Plymouth Gladiators, although been a frustrating start to life there for you and all the riders, in fact, hasn't it, with the rain-offs that you've had and a couple more this week?
Yeah, I know as the weather's been terrible. It was obviously meant to be at Plymouth today, but that's called off, and meant to be at Birmingham tomorrow, and that's also been called off. So, that's what's made it difficult to sort of keep busy at times, but all it means is it's going to be a very busy end to the season, which isn't a bad thing. I like to be busy, and I'd ride every day of the week if it was possible. And I'm meant to have six meetings in 7 days this week, but obviously the weather's changed that a little bit, but still good to be busy.
Yeah, well, yeah, so you're certainly going to be busy in August and probably September as well now, by the look of it, certainly the first couple of weeks. You've also got international commitments as well, and last weekend you were taking part in the Euro Under-19 semi-finals, and congratulations, because you've qualified for the final of this, which takes place in Gorzów in a few weeks' time. So, that's a big opportunity as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that was massive for me as a great achievement in my career so far, and I knew I needed to qualify in Slovakia on Saturday to put myself in the shop window for some under-24 Polish stuff next year, which is good for myself. And I started off the meeting well on Saturday with 2 race wins, and at that point I sort of knew I only needed a couple more points here and there to qualify, and I managed to get those. So I'll get some more experience abroad over the next few weeks, which can only help me improve as a rider.
And so is that the plan for next year as well, then, to factor in some Polish under-24 stuff and doing these international meetings that gets you on the radar, number one, but also you need to do this sort of stuff to qualify for it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the quality of riders I'm up against over there, my age group, are very, very talented riders. So it's good to compare myself to them and see how I am against the top riders of this age group in the world. So it's definitely good for me, and hopefully next year I can gain even more experience abroad.
TAI WOFFINDEN back in British Speedway, and he's a rider that's helped you and your brother out over the early years, wasn't he? And in fact, he did that TV documentary. Was it the True Grit documentary that was on BT Sport a few years ago? And the story goes that he only agreed to do it if you and your brother were going to be in it as well, because he wanted some of the youth in there, and he'd been working with yourselves, hadn't he? And so you've got this connection with TAI WOFFINDEN already.
Yeah, that's right. He was sort of involved with one of our sponsors as well, so we everything was all sort of tied in through our sponsor, and it was a great experience to be filmed by BT Sport with TAI, and he was a real pleasure to deal with. Obviously, it's difficult to give 15-year-old advice when you're still learning your way around tracks and stuff without bike setups coming into play in that. But obviously, he tried as much as he could to help us out, and we were really grateful for that. So, that was good.
Yeah, awesome stuff. A nice little story as well. And so could be a nice, sweet little twist to that story to line up against him. And, well, imagine if you got one over him.
Yeah, well, I've beaten some pretty good riders so far in my career, so you never say never.
And you took a couple of decent scalps on Monday, Bomber and Richard Lawson, so that's a feather in your cap, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I was obviously a lot more fired up for last night with being against the team who sacked me and the manager. So yeah, it was definitely good to get one over on them and put a bag full of points on the scoreboard as well whilst I was at it. So yeah, it couldn't really have gone much better.
I'll tell you what, though, you wearing your Leicester Kevlars but an Ipswich race jacket would definitely have caught me out if I was commentating, that is for sure.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of comments from last night, people saying it was a tactical move to wear my Lions Kevlars, but I haven't actually got any other Kevlars to wear, so that's all I could wear.
Yeah, well, you've got to wear what's available, I guess, but no.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying, what if a Leicester rider looks back and sees a glimpse of Leicester Kevlars and he's not going to think he's under pressure or something? And I didn't really think of that, to be fair.
Next up then for Ipswich, trip to Kings Lynn on Thursday. Again, another chance to entertain on the TV as well, because that one's on BSN, and then away to Peterborough on Monday. So a busy time with a couple of local derbies on the cards now.
Yeah, good more exposure for myself, and I haven't been to Kings Lynn in a while, so it'll be interesting to see how I get on there. But everything's been going well for me lately, so I'll just give it my all and hopefully have another good meeting. Obviously, a few crucial away meetings with Ipswich to come, with being away at Kings Lynn and Peterborough, so we'll definitely be looking for 2 more away wins there to hopefully put us a bit more in the playoff picture. I know it's obviously going to be a big challenge for us to make the playoffs now, but we're all still fired up and we still want it.
Awesome stuff. Well, look, thanks a lot for speaking to us, Dan, and best wishes with the upcoming fixtures and everything else that's heading your way as well, particularly that trip over to Gorzhov as well for the under-19s. And are they starting to think about track reserves for Cardiff yet? Do you know if you might be in with a shout of that or not? I mean, that decision's usually fairly imminent, isn't it?
I have no idea, to be honest, but I've been asked to do a little test event at Cardiff just to test the track out, sort of a few days before, so that'll be more good experience for myself, and I'm just taking all the bike time I can get at the minute.
Oh, that would be super awesome. I know that Phil Morris said they were going to be doing a test event beforehand, and I did wonder if they might be asking the likes of yourselves, rising stars and so on, to be involved. So I know you'll be in an empty stadium, but it's still going to be a bit of a thrill, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just riding a track like Cardiff in the stadium is amazing. I have done it once before on the 250cc with the youngsters before, but obviously it'll be a massive experience, even in an empty stadium.
Cool. And is that what they're doing, like they've done it before, where they're asking a bunch of the previous, British younger guys to come in and sort of simulate a GP, and that's what they've done in the past, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few British youngsters that are heading down to Cardiff for the practice event. I'm not really sure what it's all about, but we just get a few rides around the track, which will be pretty cool.
Nice stuff. Okay, well, enjoy that at the very least, and maybe more as well. Who knows what might come your way, but all the best, and look forward to seeing how it goes for the rest of the season.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
Dan Thompson of the Ipswich Witches, and also lining up for the Plymouth Gladiators in the Cab Direct Championship. And we'll talk more about Plymouth in a few moments, because we'll hear from Richie Worrell, who is speaking about Plymouth's plight with the rain. They're now without a meeting at home for 6 weeks, and they've also got their away meeting cancelled this week as well. We'll hear from Richie Worrell on the Gladiators in the next part of No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. I'm Ian Brannan, and in the previous part we heard from Dan Thompson, who is one of the most recent signing for the Plymouth Gladiators. However, he's yet to turn a wheel for them. Since signing for them, all their meetings have been postponed because of the weather forecast, and that remains the situation this week, with Plymouth's home and away meetings being postponed because of the weather. Clearly there's not much they can do about that. It's bad fortune. It's certainly going to make for a busier time later in the season, but frustrating for for the riders involved. Particularly, let's hear from Richie Worrell of the Plymouth Gladiators. He's been speaking to Ryan Guest.
Yeah, I didn't go there once last month. Well, I did, but to watch the rain. It's frustrating, yeah, but I feel for Plymouth and all their fans. But what can we do? The weather is the weather. I just worry about how we're going to get them all in at the end, because I believe Plymouth have got a chance of making the playoffs. We've got all of our tough matches out the way now. We've had Poole. Well, I'll say tough, but we've had Poole a few times, had Oxford a few times. And they are up there for winning the league, I think. I know we've got Glasgow coming up, but the other ones, I think we've got a good strong chance of doing something in them. And if we do so, then there is a playoff position for us there down at the bottom. So we just need to get the races in to try and get the wins in and get the points and try and do something.
And just finally looking at a couple of the boys that Mark and Gary have brought in as well, obviously the likes of James Pearson and Dan Thompson, released by other championship clubs, but nevertheless when you look at what they've been doing since, I know Dan Thompson scored paid double figures at Leicester tonight, for example, so there's certainly something that those boys have got to offer.
Absolutely, yeah, I rate Dan, I do. And even James Pearson, I rode with him twice since. I think we did red car with him, he rode well, and then I rode with him at Edinburgh the other night. I top scored, I think he was second behind me. It might have made him hungry leaving Birmingham. When you do get the sack, you end up a bit hungry, and right, I'm going to show them. So hopefully we picked up two angry boys, and you want to show what they can do. But yeah, I do look at that team. I think we're stronger. Me and Kyle, I've definitely got to up our games a little bit. I feel like we have been under par. So yeah, that being said, we can get that done. Ben's just Ben, innit? We're always going to get 110% out of Ben. It just depends if he's on the two wheels or one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back with Plymouth with our new team and seeing what we can do. I'm excited about that.
Well, Plymouth must wait until next Tuesday. It is a crucial bottom of the table clash, though, if you want to call it that, because the Plymouth Gladiators will be welcoming the Berwick Bandits to the Coliseum next Tuesday evening. Fingers crossed the weather, so far at least, looks a little better than previously it might have done over the last few weeks or so. So you never know. That fixture will, of course, be on BSN as well next Tuesday. Looking elsewhere in the Cab Direct Championship, Glasgow Tigers moved clear into second place in the championship, holding on for a 46-44 win over title holders, the Poole Pirates. The Pirates recovered from 10 points down with 5 races to go to force a last heat decider, with the home side's lead cut down to 2 points. But Richard Lawson won the race for the visitors after a frantic battle. Second and third places for Benjamin Basso and Chris Harris over Steve Worrell were enough for the Tigers to take victory. A big one as well at that. Meanwhile, last week, Redcar ended Oxford's unbeaten record in the Cab Direct Championship with a 48-42 win in a thriller at the Echo Arena. Both sides led the meeting, which went down to a last heat decider after the Cheetahs pulled off a 5-1 in Heat 14 to narrow the Bears' lead to 4 points. Danny King was Redcar's hero, though, in Heat 15, defeating Sam Masters, with Charles Wright in third place ahead of Oxford guest Benjamin Basso, with the visitors going away with the aggregate bonus points. We can hear from a member of each camp now. In a moment, we'll hear from Jordan Jenkins of the Oxford Cheetahs. But first of all, the team manager for the Redcar Bears, Gavin Parr, speaking to Ryan Nassau.
Yeah, had everything, didn't it? Again, a bit like last week, it sort of toed and froed a little bit. We sort of had our noses in front for a while later on, and then obviously they hit back towards the end, and I did for a split second think, it's just not going to go to a superheat or anything, is it? But Danny had got a bike working really well. Charles had just been Charles all night, so I did think 15 we could at least split them, which would have obviously give with a win, and that's what happened. Yeah, brilliant.
Cheetahs defeated for the first time this season. They have had a fantastic run. Has that surprised you about how long it's taken to be defeated, especially because you have 1-4 on the bounce away from home as well?
No, I don't think so. I know we're a good team. We've got a solid outfit, and the team spirit in the camp is unreal, and I've been in a team like it. enjoying every second of it. I think that's the big thing that's pushing us on as a team. And I don't think we can be disappointed about tonight to lose it by 6 against Redcar. Got a good team. If that was in the playoffs, we'd take that and we'd do the business back home. But it's been a decent night, and with Henry took a knock tonight, and Cam's not his usual self. Obviously missing Scotty, but Ben done a good job. And you just got to think, if we had Louis here as well, it would have been, I don't know, maybe a few points closer, or and the luck went our way with tapes exclusions, then it would have been all right.
24 hours later, though, and it was the Berwick Bandits who had the better of the Redcar Bears, with Berwick skipper Leon Flint holding his nerve in a crucial Heat 15 to secure a dramatic 46-44 victory over the Bears at Shieldfield Park. Looking elsewhere through the Championship, a couple of other stories. Max Clegg returns to Edinburgh's senior team this week as an injury replacement for Lasse Fredriksson, and he's looking to hit the ground running, returning back to the Monarchs side. Birmingham manager Stuart Dixon is still looking for ways to improve the Birmingham Brummies side, taking some encouragement from a 12-point defeat at Scunthorpe last Friday, as we heard earlier in this piece as well. And looking ahead to the week ahead, leaders Oxford back in action at home against Scunthorpe on Wednesday. The rest of the chasing pack have some important fixtures, with Glasgow travelling to Redcar on Friday, Poole host Edinburgh on Wednesday before making the trip to Armadale on Friday in the return fixture, which will then move on to Berwick on Saturday in a northern tour. The Bandits visit Scunthorpe on Friday. And a look at the National Development League, and Edinburgh's 2 reserve plus Max Clegg accounted for a massive 40 of the Academy's 46 points in a narrow home win over Berwick. Problems elsewhere in the side. Dale Wood and Mickey Simpson stepped in to secure the victory, with Simpson recording a career best 16 points. Steve Boxall made an excellent return to action for Berwick at Edinburgh, but wasn't quite enough for the Bullets to take an away victory. And Oxford are set to welcome back Luke Killeen. And Oxford is set to welcome back Luke Killeen after his lengthy injury absence, and now reclaims his side in the Oxford Chargers lineup for both the Chargers and the Cheetahs. And looking at the busy week ahead, a busy Sunday in the National Development League sees Mildenhall clash with Leicester in a repeat of last season's grand final, with both clubs in contention yet again. Meanwhile, Workington visit Kent at midday. The Comets also in action at Leicester on Saturday, with the Lion Cubs leading 53-37 in their Knockout Cup semi-final. So the full fixture picture then, starting on Wednesday. One meeting already off is Birmingham versus Plymouth. The weather is looking dicey for Wednesday in certain parts of the country. Oxford are due to take on the Scunthorpe Scorpions. The score's level there on aggregate, of course. And Poole set to face the Edinburgh Monarchs at 7:30, weather permitting. Thursday, back to Sports Insure Premiership action. Kings Lynn versus Ipswich, with Ipswich in the lead with the bonus point for that one. 7:30 the start time. That fixture live on BSN. The other fixture is Leicester versus Sheffield, which takes place at the Pidcock Motorcycles Arena. 7:30 the start time for that. On Friday, Cab Direct Championship action. It's Edinburgh versus Poole at 7:30, with that fixture set to be live on BSN as well, I believe. That's again 7:30 start time. Redcar versus Glasgow, Scunthorpe versus Berwick. Those two fixtures will be shown via the club's own streaming channels. On Saturday, Cab Direct Championship, Berwick versus Poole at 7 o'clock. And National Development League Knockout Cup semi-final second leg, I should say. Leicester versus Workington, with Leicester in the lead there, 53-37 at half-time. 7 o'clock the start time there. And on Sunday, National Development League, it's Kent versus Workington at 12, Mildenhall versus Leicester at 4. On Monday, Sports Insure Premiership, Peterborough versus Ipswich, Bellevue versus Sheffield, and Wolverhampton versus Leicester are your two fixtures there. And then looking ahead to next Tuesday, Cab Direct Championship, Plymouth versus Berwick, which is live on BSN. And you've got National Development League action with Oxford taking on Kent. And that takes us over the next week or so. Fingers crossed for the weather and get at least the majority of those fixtures through. And we'll be back here next Wednesday to talk about all of that and look forward to another busy week coming up, because the 14th of August will be the Sports Insure British Final. That's going to be around the corner this time next week. week we'll have the full draw for that, so we'll know who's going to be riding against who, and no doubt looking ahead to the British final in next week's episode. So we'll see you then for that. In the meantime, enjoy your week in Speedway. I'm sure there's going to be lots to talk about over the next 7 days, and we'll be here next week to review it all on No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Between aging and busy lifestyles, many women struggle with maintaining their physical and mental wellness. At Aquavita Concierge Healthcare Services for Women, we can help you revitalize your health and reclaim your life. We start from within by balancing your hormones, allowing your body to achieve and maintain desired weight goals. We also specialize in peptide therapies, regenerative medicine, sexual health, and aesthetics in our state-of-the-art facilities. Feel better, look better, live better at Aquavita. Visit aquavitality.com and begin your journey today.